Hi there everyone, my name's Dave West. I hope you're all doing well. So welcome back to the Ultimate Video Test, and this time I'm checking out the OnePlus Nord in low light. Now, as with all Ultimate Video Tests, I'll leave all of the main camera specifications down in the description, and I'll just run through some of the high level features throughout the video to help save you some time. So we're starting off with the front facing camera then, and this is at 4K at 30 frames per second on the main selfie camera lens. There's also an ultra wide lens which I'll show you in a moment. And I'm filming all of this handheld, and the electronic image stabilization is doing the rest of the work. Now I expect to see some micro jitters, especially in this more challenging lighting, but I suppose the idea of this video is to give you an accurate reflection of how things would look if you were to choose to film in low light conditions. So we just look around me and see how the phone handles exposure. Now it's not completely dark, but basically it's any light where it's hard to read is low light, so that's what I'm filming in now. So that's the main camera. Then I'll switch to the ultra wide selfie lens now and show you how that looks. Alright, so this is the selfie camera then, with its ultra wide angle lens at 4K at 30 frames per second. Now ultra wide angle cameras really do suffer in low light because they've got a very limited aperture, and also because they're so wide as well. It really struggles in lower light conditions, as you can see here. But you do get quite a lot into the frame, even though it's pretty pointless. I kind of turn towards the light there. You can see more of me in the frame. But again, this is just to give you an idea of how it looks in more challenging lighting. Alright, so for those curious, this is what 4K 60 looks like from the front-facing camera in low light, and as you can see, it's barely usable. I mean, there's two big street lamps around me, and you can see it's very, very dark. In all fairness, 60 FPS on any smartphone in this kind of light is a real challenge, especially with a smaller sensor like we've got on the front-facing camera here. Basically, double the frames equals twice the amount of time it takes the light to hit the sensor. So this really isn't ideal for low light, so I wouldn't really recommend using it. But in case anyone asks, this is what it looks like. Alright, so moving around to the rear cameras then. So this is the main 48 megapixel lens, and this is recording at 4K at 30 frames per second. Now it's aided with electronic image stabilization, but in this kind of lighting you will see some micro jitters in the image as it tries to stabilize all of the light and everything in the image. So I've got some light around me. Let's just check out autofocus. And even in this challenging lighting, the autofocus is still pretty quick. Moves from subject to background nice and smoothly. You can see the detail as well on my gimbal, which is cool. And with these passing cars, hopefully it should give you an idea of the audio recording from the stereo mics. Okay, so before we move to the ultra wide angle camera, I'll just show you 1080p at 60 FPS from the main rear camera. This is the only camera on the rear which can do 60 FPS recording. Now with the stock software, you can only do a max of 1080p at 60 frames per second, but if you use Gcam, it can do 4K at 60 frames per second. So if you really must have 4K at that higher frame rate, then it is possible with a Gcam port. And I've done a separate video showing that, so just click on the card on the screen now and that'll take you to that video, and you can see how that looks in action. Okay, so this is 4K at 30 frames per second then from the ultra wide angle camera. As you can see, the image is dark and it does have quite a bit of noise and grain in it. But if I turn where there's a little bit more light in, you can really see the grain in the image. So again, this isn't ideal. I don't suspect many people would use the ultra-wide camera in this kind of lighting, but for the sake of completeness, this is how it looks. Right, so this is the Cine mode. So this basically crops to a 21:9 image to give you a more cinematic aspect ratio. If you're watching on a more modern mobile device, you may want to pinch the zoom here so it fills up all of the screen. And this has been carried over from the OnePlus 8 series devices, which also have this mode. In good lighting conditions, it does look really good. It's not real 21:9, but it's a good effort by OnePlus, I think, to give that more cinematic look to your video with the black bars top and bottom. And in this mode you still get the digital zoom effects as well, but most of them are a bit unusable, to be honest, especially in low light, but the option is there should you need. So if you're at a concert where there's a lot more light, then that might be of some use to you. Very quickly in Cine mode you can also record with the ultra wide angle lens, much like just the standard video, which isn't 21:9. It's got lots of noise and grain in the image, which isn't ideal. Alright, so last up then is super stable mode. And because this uses the ultra wide angle camera, it's pretty much unusable, as you can see. So I'm not going to spend too much time recording in this mode, but it's meant to give you a really super stable stabilization experience. But what I've noticed is with the OnePlus 8 series and also the Nord is that the stabilization in the standard mode is so good, it pretty much renders this option a bit redundant, to be honest. Because the stabilization between that and the super stable mode is indistinguishable, to be honest. I haven't really been able to pinpoint a real difference in it, so I'm not sure whether OnePlus will move away from super stable video or improve it by adding more axis, so more diagonal as well as the side and up and down that they offer now. But again, for the sake of completeness with the video test, this is how super stable looks in low light conditions. So that's the end then of the OnePlus Nord low light video test. Not ideal conditions, and you can really see the sort of lower cost hardware struggles in these more challenging lighting conditions. But it's always worth doing these because I know a lot of people find value in it and may want to use the phone in this kind of scenario, and hopefully this helps make people's minds up on whether this is the right phone for them. So if you've got any comments or questions about anything you've seen in this video, then please do leave those down in the comment section and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. And don't forget, if you're new around here, then please do consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell so you don't miss more videos coming like this on the channel very, very soon. But for now, this has been my look at the OnePlus Nord in low light. My name's Dave West, and I'll catch you guys later.